Onstage, onstage with Jim and Tom. 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 Tom and Jim.
Tonight we welcome a creative force and a powerful presence in the North Bay music scene for the last 10 years. Our guest tonight has dedicated himself to music, and his reputation precedes him. He's released 4 self-produced full-length albums, has guitar credits on many other records, and does production work at his own Gremlin Tone Studios, which he co-founded in 2014. A towering figure in our indie music scene. Please welcome to the program John Courage, along with bandmates Jared Maddox and Jamie Payne. How long have you been playing music for?
Music in general, it's closing on 21 years, 22 years. I think 22 really, for just playing guitar.
What are your early memories of John Courage?
Well, let's see. I don't know if it'll make it or not. I remember the first time I noticed John Courage was after I'd been dealing with John Palmer on the phone.
Yeah.
And when he didn't show up, John Courage, I was confused for the first 5 minutes of his set here.
That was the best part, was that you could book shows on the answering machine.
Yes, you could.
I couldn't figure out how to get shows at the Phoenix, and they're like, no, you got to call this number.
Yep.
And you couldn't get the number online. It was like it was passed around on this scrap of paper. I think it's 7630225. Right?
That was my old number.
Yeah, that was the one. I still remembered it because at one point I was afraid I was going to lose the paper, and I just committed it.
That was
to
my
memory.
last landline. He has been playing here since '98, and we've been blessed at the Phoenix to get, I think, almost every incarnation of your stuff.
Yeah.
I remember some watershed moments, I think, in his musical career, and a discussion we had before you left town one time. I think it was going to be one of your first moves out of town, and you were going to find it on the road.
Yeah.
And, I knew that was going to be an incredible growth period for you. And when you did get back to this area, you had grown incredibly musically.
So you moved to Washington for a while, and then you moved to Santa Fe for a while.
Yeah.
Sometimes people grow up in a place and they're like, this isn't working, I need to find the right place. So you move to a new place. You get there, you're like, this isn't working, I need to find the right place.
Which inevitably you go, everywhere I go, damn, there I am. You can travel the world, you can go on tour, you can try to lose yourself in some weird corner of whatever country or state or city. It's the same thing. All the battles and struggles that you would have internally, and any shortcomings that you would have. I mean, really, if you can't figure out how to make it in a scene that doesn't exist, I mean, there's opportunity in big cities like New York, LA, Austin, or whatever, but I was never magnetized towards that sort of thing. I moved to other small towns, basically. I moved to Olympia, Washington, and I moved to Santa Fe. And, Santa Rosa, where I grew up, has more people than either of those cities. So I essentially moved to smaller places.
I guess my question is, did the emergence of like a strong folk Americana scene draw you back here, or would you have come back here anyway?
Sort of. I came back and I did a CD release show, and I knew that I had to move back. I played with some friends, and Santa Fe is very isolated. It's a fantastic spot, but you hit a glass ceiling in your first 6 months,
So Guy Clark recently passed away, and that touched you. I saw you posted about it, and I want to read something you wrote about it, because I think that music from people like him and others is what kind of which has shaped your aesthetic and made you the musician that you are today. And you wrote that as musicians, as artists, as a culture, it's important to know the giants that came before us, lest we think that we have created something we've never seen before. The originators of hand-hewn music are passing away weekly, it seems, and I would like to acknowledge what an inimitable foundation has been laid for us. Were you a fan of artists like that when you were younger? Is that what led you to it, or did you?
I don't know.
How did you come upon music that basically a lot of your peers weren't playing?
Accidentally, it just sort of happened. I think any of us that play sort of like anachronistic stuff, I didn't grow up with it. I don't have any story about, growing. My parents didn't really play a whole lot of music growing up. I know my mom will argue with me otherwise once she hears me say that, but I grew up in sort of a strict religious environment. My parents have sort of loosened up over time, but at the time there was a very strict parameters on what music I could have in the house, Like I have a very clear memory of my friend loaning me I think it was Rage Against the Machines. Is it their first or second album that has the Buddhist monk on fire? I think it's the second one. And so I took that home. It's got Killin' in the name on it. And it gets down to the breakdown on that, you know. And my dad comes, I had it cranked in my room with the door shut, and my dad comes through the door, and I had one of those like 3-disc changer stereos. It picks up the whole thing, yanks it out of the wall, and throws it across the wall. He's like, "What are you listening to?" And I just played like,
honest to God, he destroyed the equipment because of that.
Yeah. And I was like, "I don't know. I'm sorry, my friend. I didn't know what was on the CD." And I totally knew. I was like, I asked my friend. I was like, "Hey, do you have that song?" It's like, "Fuck you. I won't do what you tell me." And I was like, that's the song I wanted, you know. I was like, I wanted to get hyped up at, I think I was 11 or 12, you know.
And it was the first album. They're self-titled.
Yeah,
released
thank you.
in 92.
Thanks, yeah. And so, so that was the sort of musical environment I had at home, you know. So it was not like all the musical exploration I did was afterwards.
21 years you've been doing this.
Yeah.
Playing music.
Yikes.
What has changed in that time? Did you have a different expectation or intent with the music 21 years ago?
Yeah. I mean, you know, so when I started, I was 11, so I'm 32, and starting at 11, you don't know how to get shows. I mean, I guess I had a show by the time I was 12. Like, I started a band real quick. I was pretty sure that I was supposed to be in a band and I was supposed to play guitar with other musicians, you know?
A lot of people, maybe you guys have seen this happen, a lot of people when they get to be in their late 20s, early 30s, sometimes they walk away from music to do other things. Sometimes they come back, sometimes they don't come back. Have you ever had an encounter like that or an experience like that where you thought, I don't want to do this anymore?
All the time. Yeah.
Really? All the time?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think anybody does, especially at this point in life. You know, you get to a certain point with your job and your lifestyle, and you're like, should I keep doing this? And I mean, it's on some level, we have that conversation all the time when we hang out when we're playing music together at my place. You know,
I think on some level it comes up in the music, actually, doesn't it? I mean, a lot of the best music written is about the frustration of being on the road.
Right. And I mean, you know, and ultimately at this point, like, touring isn't what it was 20 years ago. Like, you know, and so now, especially with blah, 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 how much it costs to live here, how little I make, how little we make playing music. Touring isn't a very logistical thing once you hit a certain age, because you get used to comforts. You got a place that you rent, and like you got to keep up with that. You know, it's gone are the days of living in a punk house and like, hey, $350 for my room for this month, no problem. You know, so I wish, but I don't. You know, it's so I ultimately, yeah, the struggle exists, but you just do it. You know, to me, fully stopping or quitting just isn't. It's not an option. It's one of those things like, you know, you turn 30 and you make these certain decisions. You know, you see that. I think it's one of those ages that people turn and you see a dividing line. Like, there's some people that they keep riding the party train and they keep living too hard into their 30s. And by the time you hit 40, if you've been doing that for the past 10 years, it really catches up. I think when people hit 40, that's when you really start seeing the long-term effects of that. In musicians, you see at 30, people either dig in or they quit.
That's what I was getting at earlier.
You double down, and you have to find your own reason for doing it. Like I said, for me, for the beginning, it was always just about the instrument. I doubled down because I love guitars, you know. And
what makes you different than a lot of musicians is I think you love the music, whereas a lot of people love the idea of being known.
Yeah, and I mean that
has a much shorter shelf life than if you love the actual stuff that you're producing.
Yeah, I mean that's a really nice idea, and of course it's enticing, and to a certain extent it's always going to be that carrot on the stick of like, I'd love for more people to be familiar with the tunes that I create, with the musicians that I'm making the music with. But at the end of the day, if there was no internet, if nobody was paying attention, I'd still have that beat up Martin, and I'd still be out in a trailer in the woods playing guitar.
Have there been any like big adventures, big highs or big lows on tour that you ever think about where it's like, boy, I'm in a room with somebody I never thought I'd be in the room with, and boy, things have just gotten crazy. Or boy, I don't know if we're going to survive this thing. Anything like that jump out? And again, it's edited, so I can cut it out if there's nothing.
You kick it off, Jared. What's your...
Well, if I'm being very candid, for me, I had that moment where I wondered if I was going to come out alive, and that was just, you know, it wasn't one night, but it was over, years of some real substance abuse that I was involved in, and I kind of just many times went, man, you know, I wonder if I'm going to wake up tomorrow, you know. I wasn't with anybody famous. It was just me and my stuff.
I'm going to jump ahead because I want to try something here, and I thank you for saying that. I want to combine the last two things we just talked about, and talk about how you, John, have been an inspiration to people in the Bay Area, or rather the North Bay. And sometimes I think it doesn't feel like that. If you're just got your head down and you're doing your thing, sometimes it feels like who's listening, who's not. But I want to tell a story. You have a song from your 2010 album. Album was Lovers Without a Care. Song is called Angel of Death. Okay? Mm-hmm. This is an interesting thing. I want to play just one part of the song for you, if you don't mind. And we'll come back to the crazy tour stuff. But here, I'm going to play a part of the song right now for you.
I'll stay in your arms, even if the Lord takes me tonight.
So, that's this is a song that I'd heard a bunch before, a year or two after this. Didn't know it was your song. Had no idea that the version that I was hearing was not your version. Do you know where I'm going with this at all?
Dominic played it?
Okay.
Yeah.
So my brother passed away of a heroin overdose in 2011, 4 years younger than me. He was seeking treatment, had a relapse, went out, didn't make it back, essentially. He was living far away. We got all his stuff back. Found a collection of cassettes that he had recorded on the beach. And it was like the last musical stuff that he had produced. One of those was just kind of like a mess around thing he was doing, playing with different people's lyrics. One of them was yours. It was widely thought of as his song, and then I saw you playing it at Aubergine's once, and I was like, holy shit, that wasn't his song at all. That wasn't anything he was working on at all. That was something John was working on. So I don't know if you've heard his really kind of a rough thing, but here's just him, no longer with us, singing the section of that song.
I'll stay in your arms, even if the Lord takes me tonight.
Wild.
So yeah, he was down in Newport Beach and trying to recover from the heroin addiction, and you had released this album in 2010. This was February of 2011.
Wow.
And I actually didn't even know that your music was on his radar. I knew you both were Sonoma County folk guys and all that, but I had no idea that he would seek out your music and listen to it above and beyond just like playing on a show with you or whatever.
Thanks for sharing that, man. That's super
Absolutely,
cool.
Yeah. It's cool to me because, you know, Josh, you mentioned Sharkmouth is somebody, or rather Josh James Jackson is someone you know. Sharkmouth is his project. He was on this show a few months ago, and he mentioned growing up in Sonoma County, watching you from afar playing and seeing you, and he said this on the show, that seeing what you did made him want to do what you did. Like, he wanted to do that.
Yeah, it's wild to hear stuff like that.
I know it is.
Sometimes you're just like this, and especially it really is a North Bay thing. You know, I mean, it's like, I've never made any big steps into San Francisco or Oakland or whatever, so it's really just like...
But part of kind of like repositioning and redefining what success is I think saying, like, that's okay. Because
that's enough. Like right there, honestly, that like what you just played me and what Josh has said to me is that's more than a lot of people could ever ask for, you know. And
check it out this way too, because you and my brother Dominic, you weren't friends. I mean, you shared a really you were like acquaintances. Yeah, you shared a really close friend in Chesco, but to my knowledge, it was like you guys never hung out. So the fact that this essentially, kind of a stranger / acquaintance had a connection to your music, that's a great thing. And I would venture to guess that there are more people out there. When you do something like this long enough, this is what happens. I mean, stuff happens in the background that you don't even know. And I just think it's a really good reminder for anybody pursuing something that sometimes seems hopeless, or maybe you don't know if anybody's listening, that people are.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there are always these sort of like staggering moments.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes.
Because it's that sort of like zoom out, pan out shot, and you see the Earth as this little tiny speck in the universe, you know. And like, if this song that I wrote that song in a bedroom at my parents' house, you know, I was still living with my folks when I wrote that song. So if that song has some sort of life and exists in someone else's sphere in a totally different moment, in a totally different life, and in a different way that it resonates with them, that's, I don't know. It's hard to say. It's really hard to verbalize what that means, you know.
Sometimes it kind of feels like, what's the point? And the point is that. The point is that it is touching people.
Yeah.
So
thanks, man. And I mean, I do believe in it. That's why I'm doing the studio. That's why I've sort of like diversified what I do in recording other bands, you know, committing to anachronistic ways of recording on tape and stuff. Like, I think it means something, you know. I don't know that I'll see the results, but maybe those results will be down some sort of ripple effect, 3 or 4 layers from there, you know, that the Sharkmouth EP ends up in some 12-year-old's hands and then ends up in their brother's hands, and their brother hears this song that we recorded. You know, it's stuff that you do that seems incidental. You know, I played bass on my friend Emily Jane White's first record, and it seemed like such an incidental thing. Like she was sitting on the back of the couch because we couldn't figure out how to do a dummy guitar track, you know, so she literally overdubbed her guitar by accident. And years later, I was in France in a weird town where I'd never been before, in some dude's like, every house in the French country is kind of like a castle, but to my memory, it's like a French castle. And this guy was like, "Putain merde, you know Emily Jane White play Hole in the Middle?" And I was like, "Yeah, I wrote that bass line." He was like, losing it, you know? And I was like, here I'm halfway across the world in this song that we sort of just recorded at a friend's house.
And Emily Jane White's a Santa Rosa person, right?
Originally from Mendocino.
Spent some time in Santa Rosa, though.
Time in Santa Rosa, and then spent some time she lives in Oakland now.
But is a musician, and through some sequence of events is very popular in France.
Hugely popular.
Hugely popular in France.
Hugely, like I was talking to a random dude in a French castle, right? Like,
that's what I was trying to contextualize.
I went and saw Juana Molina perform to a sold-out independent, and she opened up, and I'd never heard her before, and I was talking to the guys next to me, and I was like, "Oh, you a fan of Juana Molina?" "Oh, no, we came for Emily," and they were French.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, "Really?" I was like, and then I found out through Dan kind of her story and everything, and she's got that thing where she's like from here, popular over there.
Yeah,
you know?
She broke like right after we did that record. She got a write-up in Rolling Stone.
There's just something about the adventure and about the possibility.
If anybody's contemplating quitting, I would say don't. You can change how you do it. I also think there's a great disservice we do to ourselves as independent musicians, and probably more so now with the internet and this push to promote and a push to do this and to share your band and to get likes and to pay Facebook to put your post up a bunch of times or whatever. There's a big push for that in the independent community. And I think that you can still totally be satisfied and have an engaging interaction through music without buying into any of that, you know? And I think that sort of push burns a lot of people out. To be honest, I'm terrible at the computer side of things. I don't have a smartphone. I can barely keep it together as far as technology stuff that isn't total lizard brain Facebook posts. Inevitably, I think that's part of what's going on with where I'm at in my career. It's just a word of mouth thing. It's me playing live around the area, and when I can get out on the road, I do, you know. But there's a huge satisfaction in waking up every morning and playing my guitar. And I encourage everybody else that feels a little bit burned out on the rat race end of it. It's just self-imposed. It's just something that like they told independent bands at some point in time, and we all bought into this like idea that we have to do this and tour and get a white van and drive around and get your trailer ripped off in LA and like all this stuff. Like, you don't have to do it that way. You know, there's plenty of ways to do it. I suggest just waking up every morning and playing your guitar and remembering why you do it in the first place.
I feel like I grew up kind of pretty fast, you know, as a kid, but I grew up even faster when I was on the road and meeting endless people, you know, every single night that are inspiring. And now that I'm studying writing right now at Berkeley, and I draw on my experiences every time I sit down and try to write something, you know, it's the characters that you meet. But if I was going to say anything, I would, you know, if someone feels even the slightest bit like they want to speak out about anything, try it. You know, I mean, we need reclusive people as well. But if you're thinking about going and playing music, I think you should most definitely at least try it, you know, because there's going to be somebody out there that's going to be grateful that you did it. And this is what I love about this conversation. Those clips that you just played, this is like a direct line. That's pure. You know, this is a direct example about like, you know, music being supportive, you know, and you don't always get that. You know, we're so busy always trying to like get better guitar or make money or, take care of yourself. But like realistically, it's like there's a reason behind it, and you might not see it, but it's beneficial. So it's gonna affect somebody, and go for it.
Go for it.
You are only 32, so it's a weird description I'm going to lay upon you, but you are an elder statesman in terms of the indie rock scene in Sonoma County, and an inspiration for many people. We talked about a couple of them tonight, but don't forget that, because you truly are. So thank you for all the music you've shared with us over the last 21 years, and for coming on the show, everyone, for giving us some insight into, what it is that makes you guys the people that you are.
Yeah. How old are you, G?
32.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
I got to watch. I've been watching this kid grow up for a long, long time, and it's been a hell of a cool ride. So, yeah.
So the interview is just about over, but everyone who is listening should stick around, because in just a moment, John Courage and the band will be playing a number of songs for us, some electric and some acoustic. So,
yeah.
My God, stick around for that. And
Stay
once
seat.
again, thank you for joining us
Thank
tonight,
you,
guys.
guys.
Thank you. Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Live on the fringe of a world I can't believe in. I barely get by when I'm out to survive for a feeling. I keep my cash in a box for no particular reason. I got a bag always packed in case I feel like leaving. They won't know the way I went. Crooked lines cover up my tracks. Just some birds stuck in the fence. Hello, I keep my head down when I'm walking around. I don't stick out. When I step outside my little life, then I stretch out. I stop and stare for a while, close my eyes with a smile, and I lay down. And they won't know the way I went. Crooked lines cover up my tracks. Just some birds stuck in the fence. Hello, no. Hello, no. Hello, no. Hello, no. They found me asleep and they gave me a leash that I live on. I plan to break free, but I'll wait until my day comes. I said I'm gonna break free, but I'll wait until my day comes. And they won't know the way I went. Crooked lines cover up my tracks. all the half-baked creepers with their eminent frown. And if everyone is leaving, yeah, no one sticks it out. Who will be there? Throw some bright idea down. I need the city to love me now. Late at night, not many sounds. Complicated little town. Rosie, Rosie, make me proud. All the years that I lived here, how I watched the city change. All the good people that I knew, and you too, that just walked away. I myself was guilty of the very crime. If you don't love your hometown, baby, it'll turn on you in time. I need the city to love me now. Late at night, not many sounds. Complicated little town. Rosie, Rosie, make me proud. Complicated little town. Rosie, Rosie, make me proud. Rosie, Rosie, help me now. Rosie, Rosie, make me proud. They drew some lines separate by class or race. If you don't think so, you're in an isolated place. It's everywhere, he says. I say we could make a stand. You don't believe in fiction, I think we can. Or we're too far in a wrong direction. Can we change what we believe? Come on, rich man, shake the money down. Put your 2 feet on the ground. Come on, old man, stand up right now. Put your 2 feet on the ground. Can't help but notice certain things about this design, like a bad neighborhood on a railroad line. They push you out, baby. They turn the heat up slow. They blast you out the city where the poor folks to go. Always too far in a wrong direction. Can we change who we believe? Come on, rich man, shake the money down. Put your 2 feet on the ground. Come on, old man, stand up right now. Put your 2 feet on the ground. What they gonna do when they're done with you? Put you so far underground. Come on, rich man, shake the money down. Put your 2 feet on the ground. Come on, old man, stand up right now. Put your 2 feet on the ground. Put your 2 feet on the ground. Put your 2 feet on the ground. I was a dime store cowboy. They call me the king of make-believe. A fitted suit, a cheap pair of boots, and a couple of aces up my sleeve, if you know what I mean. Honey, I wish you well. Where I'm going, no one could tell. I don't think you ever knew me well. I'm a heartbreak man. Yeah, I'm a heartbreak man. I miss my life out on the West Coast. I forgot my true identity. But no one here knows my God-given name. Yeah, they're just in love with the fantasy. Honey, I wish you well. Where I'm going, no one can tell. I don't think you ever knew me well. I'm a heartbreak man. I'm gonna leave here in the distance, through the thickest fog. I know my place is there. This is not where I belong. Abandoned and forced to fight, empty faces night after night. Make myself a magic trick, a falcon on a train instead. Chasing down the feeling of the first time. Reach my hand into the rain and I touch a lightning. A curse I can't escape. Press the ring into my fate. I touch lightning. I touch lightning. Despite all resistance, outside or in my bones, burn back the overgrowth I neglected for so long. Scornful look of strangers as you rise up in place. Mutiny on the routine, baby, steadfast in your faith. Chasing down the feeling of the first time. Reach my hand into the rain and I touch a lightning. A curse I can't escape. Press the ring into my fate. I touch lightning. I touch lightning. I touch lightning. Taller than the worry that once held me down. Or can we beat it? One way to find out. Chasing down the feeling of the first time. Reach my hand into the rain and I touch a lightning. A curse I can't escape. Press the ring into my fate. I touch lightning. I touch lightning. I touch lightning. I touch lightning. Am I letting go? Or did I lose control? Am I a sinking storm? Although I'm loved, sometimes I'm alone. But I ain't got nowhere to go. Can I stay for a while? I thought all we wanted, yeah, was to lose control. was to lose control. Am I a monster in my skin, roaming the streets after dark? I head downtown to get drinks again, to still my beating heart. Too frail a man to pay for all of my crimes. I'm going back again to do it right this time. I ain't got nowhere to go. Can I stay for a while? I thought all we wanted, yeah, was to lose control. Was to lose control. Can we lose control?